don't have to fight, we don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no, we don't have to fight.
Hello, welcome back to Just Chill with Oliver George. We are episode 19 now. The light is on. I want to say, first of all, thank you so much if you've subscribed. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. That's on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio-only version of this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something, then please come check out the visual version. And finally, if you want to contact the show for any reason, if you want to just give us a cool guest idea or give some feedback on what you think, then the contact info is justchillpodcasting@gmail.com. Now, for my guest, the man of the hour, Mr. Wafik Nasralla. How was the pronunciation? Was that terrible?
No, that was perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, I've got it butchered over the years many times.
What's the worst you've heard?
Widget Mendoza in Calgary.
Widget Mendoza?
Yeah, I stood there. I'm like,
drunk.
is he calling me? Like
That guy was drunk. That's too far off. Or maybe he didn't hear you.
Well, he just rolled in, so we didn't actually have a chance to properly introduce each other. So he just ran straight on stage, and then he just called me.
Okay, so it was more about like he didn't really have the chance. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're an Ottawa-based comedian, but you've been all over the place.
Yeah.
And I got to say, first of all, you were actually kind of hard to research. Compared to other people that I've looked up, I try to prep, some notes before. And considering how long you've been doing comedy and how well known you are around here, it was really hard to get like facts on you and shit from what I could find.
I'm shocked by that.
Well, my how I back that up is that when I went to your Facebook page, what I found was a link to a MySpace page.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I kind of got a point a little bit here. But MySpace, sidebar, is like a music thing now, apparently?
Yes, I think so.
Weird.
When we first started, it was, or when it first started, I guess, it was supposed to be what Facebook became. But and everybody just sort of abandoned MySpace.
Yeah, because Facebook just filled that void all of a sudden, and it was so much better.
I just thought MySpace was so much better for advertising comedy and upcoming shows and stuff and having clips up. But, I mean, Facebook's cool for what it does, I guess.
Well, you're a bit older than me because I remember MySpace as like I was in like high school and I had like a page for my band or some shit like that, but I wasn't trying to promote stuff in a big way. But it's just weird to see that it still exists.
I didn't even know it still did, to be honest.
Yeah, man.
I couldn't even remember my sign-in.
I was going to say, you describe yourself in one bio that I found as the funniest one-eyed Egyptian Canadian working on the planet, which I just thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to guess there's not too many of those.
No.
But that made me feel a little more comfortable asking you about your eye. What's the story behind that, if you're comfortable talking about that?
Of course, yeah. Well, it happened when I was like 11 years old, so I lost it in an accident. I do talk about it on stage in my...
I figured as much. Yeah, I've heard some of that before, so I didn't think you would mind.
The title stuck. Like somebody just called me that one day, and then a lot of people sort of took to it, and I really don't.
What, the one-eyed comedian? You mean?
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, it's like you might as well lean into it, right?
Exactly.
Like, yeah. So it was an accident though, because I was wondering maybe if you were just born that way or.
No. It was a fight with a friend.
Oh shit, that's hardcore. Damn, man. Well, hey. Doesn't affect your comedic talent any, that's
Actually,
for sure.
no, it gave me some time on stage and gave me like something unique.
Yeah, it stands out for sure. Your career has been really huge from what I've seen, but you're definitely a Yuck Yuck season veteran. And I was reading that you used to actually have like a contract with Yuck Yucks, or you were one of the signed Yucks guys, right?
Yeah,
and then you decided to go freelance at some point?
Yeah, I had some issues with the Toronto head office. Howie, who runs the Ottawa club, his friend.
Great guy.
Like a father figure, an uncle kind of thing. So I never had any resentment towards him. I actually thank him all the time for everything he's done for me and given me the stage to perform on.
Howie, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, Howie's great. Yeah.
And so what happened was I left Yucks, and it got really kind of ugly to a point where Howie was upset with me for the first little while. And then basically it finally came out that, it was just the head office. I don't want to work for Yuck Yucks, but I still want to work for him.
So when you're working for Yuck Yucks in that capacity, like what does that entail?
But then you can go coast to coast and you get all these...
but you're restricted from performing in the smaller rooms, right? I think I talked to Kyle about this.
At the time, yes, but it's changed now. Back when I first left, that was what I wanted. I wanted to perform more outside of Yuck Yucks because they weren't giving me enough work. So, and they said, well, it's you're either with us or against us. So I said, well, fuck you.
That seems strange because, I mean, going to the little side rooms is where you want to try out your new stuff. You don't want to try out your new stuff at the audience at Yuck Yucks where you're expected to be, at your greatest if you're holding that kind of a position.
Exactly.
It seems kind of, counterproductive.
And that was the way Howie was at the beginning. But now he's much more, use those rooms to work out, and then bring that stuff to my club. And that's the way it should have been. And it's funny because Absolute Comedy, when they first opened in Ottawa many years ago, they were supposed to be the club that you could do and then go anywhere you wanted.
Yeah, but he was giving people shit more than anyone, right?
Exactly.
When they did that, what was that?
They switched roles.
Wasn't
man.
there a
Howie and
waffle?
Jason-
There was a waffle place where they were doing comedy, and everybody who did comedy there, he just banned them and put them on a list or something, or maybe not banned, but it was like a temporary suspension for performing at Absolute.
But did you see how close it was? It was like about 4 doors down. So I mean, I kind
That's
of
fair.
understand
That's fair.
it.
Yeah, that's a little too close to home territory.
Yeah.
But I think we should all just embrace anyone doing comedy anywhere. It's all part of a larger community. It's for the best. I think people getting to just
Well,
exercise.
that's exactly it. And I mean, the only way to get better is stage time. You got to get on stage. And if you're limited to one room, especially in a town like Ottawa back in the day when it was the only room, what are you going to do?
I think they believed that was like forging diamonds, and I'm sure in some cases it did. But yeah, it seems like with the analogy of training for your comedy, that you're not just going to go like train at the Olympics. You're going to go train at your local gym where no one's watching, or maybe 2 people are watching, and and grind really hard and then present that. So yeah, I'm glad that seems to be evolving and changing.
Yeah. Well, especially because if you could make two people laugh, then imagine what you could do to a room full of people,
Exactly. That's a really good point. You won the contest recently, or was that a year or so ago now? The Yucks? I thought you won one of the Yucks contests.
The first one I ever won was about a year and a half in the Search for Canada's Funniest New Comic. I was only about a year and a half in. I started.
Yeah, when did you start? You've been doing this for a long time, right?
Yeah, it's about 20. It'll be 26 years in June.
I saw your headshot the other day from like 24 years ago. That's impressive, man.
Yeah. I looked like somewhere between. What do they say?
I thought it was a good pick.
Yeah, but it's an old one. So yeah.
But so what have you seen then evolve the most in the comedy scene, especially the Canadian and the Ottawa comedy scene in that period that you've been doing comedy? I mean, obviously diversity has grown, but is there anything else that maybe goes overlooked that's changed?
There's a lot, man. I mean, like the fact that Ottawa only had Yuck Yucks. So I mean, sometimes that only meant 1 or 2 spots a month. So you had to get good fast so you could get weekends to get more spots.
And that must have been brutal if you had a bad set, because you'd have so long you'd have to wait before you could try again and get up to bat.
Yeah. And the other thing about it was back in the day when Yuck Yucks was the only room, if you did a full weekend, notoriously the Saturday late show, which is the last show you end your weekend on, sometimes there'd only be 10 people in the crowd, and you'd have these wicked sets. Then you come down to the Sunday show or the Saturday late show, and it would kill you, and you'd have that taste in your mouth for like weeks.
Damn. Yeah, I guess you got to just focus on the positive moments in that. But yeah, wow. So what else has changed? What else have you noticed just in the landscape that's like.
Well, in Ottawa, there's way more rooms. There's a lot of mics, some good ones, some bad ones, and some great rooms to work out new stuff, and some rooms that you just want to go up and do your best of. It's nice that there's so many rooms now. Out touring, the big thing, like back in the day, man, like before the internet, you could go on the road, and when you went to a small town, it was a small town. They were cut off from the rest of the world,
to see you,
Yeah, so like if you tried to do any pop culture references, sometimes they didn't get it.
Oh, shit.
They might get it a couple of months later. It's like that joke.
But if you do a joke about like their local community center, they're like howling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's like that joke about like how Achy Breaky Heart was the #1 single the week you're there, but it was 10 years ago in Ottawa. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, they're like just kind of time delayed for pop culture. Yeah. I've heard that's the way it is in a lot of other countries too.
I think so, but I think the internet's making it a little better now because people are sort of
that's true.
Little, if not on the same page, a little closer at least.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
Well, another thing I was really impressed by was that, and I kind of want to know when this was happening during your career, but you toured UK and you killed it over there.
Yeah.
So was that like when you were starting out, or?
Oh, that was about maybe 10 years ago now. A guy from the UK was here in Canada, and he saw my Comedy Now when it was airing on the Comedy Network, and he had an aversion to Arab comedians because apparently they're terrible in the UK.
Oh, okay.
And so he
Not
only,
a racist thing, just
No,
like
no,
a,
exactly.
they're known
It
to
was
be
just
unfunny. Okay.
It sort of became more of a stereotypical thing.
Yeah.
So he was, the way he said it was, he was on the couch, and the Comedy Now special came out, and he says, "Oh, another Arab that thinks he's funny." And then he even said he was like getting his stuff, like his glasses and his drink, and he was going to leave the room. And he heard a couple of minutes, and he actually said, "Well, I'll watch him to the commercial." And he said by the commercial, he said he wanted to watch the whole set,
hooked.
and I made him laugh. Yeah. So
nice.
he contacted me through Facebook and said, "I want to bring you to England." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, fuck off." You know, nobody
Yeah, that sounds like a ruse
why,
or something.
Yeah, why would you want to do that? And then he said that he was just starting out to book comedians, and he was going to use me as the guy. Like he was going to bring me
like
to
the
England.
feature and yeah, okay, cool.
Be the actual funny Arab in England.
And he was like offering to fly you out there and everything?
Yeah, he flew me out and everything. And I ended up, I stayed with him. And the way it was supposed to go, it was only supposed to be 2 weeks. There were 2 competitions. Actually, there was one competition he had me in, and like a satellite room that they just did, like shows. I did the competition. We went to the Frog and Bucket in Manchester. We watched the show. That's the name of the comedy club.
Yeah, that's a really cool
It's
name.
a very cool name. It's a nice room too. I watched the show and I was just impressed at like the level of talent, but that was a professional level.
Okay.
So it was really, really fun, and it was cool to see the room. And the way they did it was like you do 3 20-minute sets, then there's an intermission.
Okay, that's
and then
nice.
3 20-minute sets again, and that's the show. There's no table service, and you can't smoke inside. So that's the intermission is when they go out and have a cigarette and get a couple more drinks and sit back
I was going
down.
to say everybody comes back kind of loaded in the second half.
Yeah, but it works. I always
in
hated
England.
intermissions, but it works in England, and they're conditioned to know, the show is right.
Well, they can hold their liquor probably better
That
too.
too. Yes.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. So then I did the competition in Nottingham.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's like isn't that where like Sherwood Forest?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Robin Hood connection, nice.
Yeah. And I won my first time ever on stage in the UK, and I was elated. Like I won. I got, I think, £50 UK. That's what I got paid. I was really happy.
Not bad. That's about like $80 or something.
Maybe
Canadian?
about 100 back
100,
then. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right on.
And then I did the Comedy Balloon. That was a satellite room. And now here's the thing, and this is one thing that people told me before I even left for England, and I kept this in mind every time I went on stage. You never know who's in the crowd in England. And
There are lots of other places for that.
yeah.
Like if you're
But
in New York's probably the same, or
yeah, definitely. But in England, it was weird because this room had like these 2 guys that went to see the show came to see me. They saw my name on the list. They never saw me before. They'd been to that room many times. So they came specifically to see who this guy is. So they said hello to everybody. I didn't talk to them till after my set. And I'll be honest, I don't brag, but I mean, I fucking destroyed that
crushed
set.
it, nice.
Yeah. I was excited. I was doing anything that I could think of that could cross over from Canada to England. Anything I'd written.
relatable, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I had a really great set. They sat me down, and then next thing I know, my 2 weeks there ended up being 9.
Wow. Just
Yeah.
because of like popular demand almost?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I got an interview on BBC
those guys were like
Radio,
scouts?
like everything. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
They booked their own shows. It was 2 guys that booked their own shows, and they basically said, well, I need him on this and this and this, and I need him on this and this. And then next thing I know, my calendar filled up. In 9 weeks,
amazing.
I did over 55 shows.
And did he just keep paying for like your hotel or whatever? Or?
No, I stayed with
Or you stayed with someone?
everything
Okay.
was a drive. Liverpool was not far from Manchester. Like everything was a
Nice,
drive.
nice. All accessible pretty easily.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, damn, man, that's super impressive to have your stay extended that long. And you said you went on BBC for an interview?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because they were like commending how awesome you were doing, I guess?
Yeah. I went in, I said I wanted to take England by storm, and I did. I was happy that I stayed true to my word, but that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I did. And I was really, I think because I was excited. I'd gotten flat and stale here in Canada. Like I said back then, I was working for Yuck Yucks. I wasn't in a very happy place. So when I went there, I was doing comedy to do comedy again.
It's like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to have fun again, and to write, and to be around other people.
Doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, one thing I was going to ask you in relation to performing in the UK, I'm assuming you've done some shows in the US too?
No, actually,
Oh,
it's never.
Hey.
It's a little harder. Like I actually got kicked out of England, and I could have gotten a 5-year travel ban, but
What, like because you didn't have a work visa or
I
something?
didn't have a work visa. I wasn't supposed to be there that
Clocking
long.
those pounds.
I just sort of jumped on the wave that I created and didn't even think about it.
Yeah, like there was no way you could have really expected that was going to unfold that way.
But then I did a show in I can't even remember the name of the town, but I did a show, and the city of the town was the one hosting the show, so the city cut me a check.
Oh, wow.
And
that's how they caught on to you?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and they called us. They called Mark Pollard 2 days later, and they said, "Look, we're not going to kick him out, but he has to go.
Yeah.
Tell him to get his work papers, and he can come back anytime."
Yeah. So it wasn't like aggressive, like
No,
giving
exactly.
you the boot. It was like they wanted you to leave
Exactly.
on your own terms, kind of, or on their terms, but respectfully or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, U.S. aside, what's the difference between performing to Canadian crowds and UK crowds, other than obviously having to like make your material relatable, but the crowd energies, was there a difference in that?
Yeah, there's definitely
what
an
kind of
energy.
comedy?
The intermission doesn't affect them at all. They're still, they're at a high level the minute the show starts. They're very comedy savvy. They know what's funny, and I did a show in Polton, and they stared at me, and I said, "What's going on?" And they said, "You're not talking about you. You're doing jokes. We want to hear about you." I started talking about my travels and the things I'd gone through, and that's what made me realize how just sophisticated they are. They can see through bullshit, and they did.
You're talking about the Polish or the Brits?
The Brits.
Okay, so yeah, the British, they always say have such a dry sense of humor. That's mainly why I was asking, inquiring originally. Did you find like some of your material that normally kills here, like bombed over there, and vice versa?
No, the stuff that gets an okay reaction killed there.
Oh, okay.
And they respect things. I do that. I don't know if you ever heard my sand nigger bit.
I was going to bring up another one of your bits, but I don't think it's the same one. But please continue. I'm sure I've heard it. I've seen you many times.
I've done it here, and I understand the context and the words and everything involved in it are harsh, but it's gallows humor, and they see that. And when I did it there, it was unbelievable the way they reacted to it. They were impressed and blown away, and
can you summarize the joke on here so you give people some context, or no?
Sure. Well, I'm sure it's on the internet, but
I can link it then if I find it later.
Yeah,
but
basically it's about going to the zoo with my daughter and my ex-wife, and walking by a group of people who called me a sand nigger, and I go off on how the N-word is the harshest word, but if you're using it on other people, then it's going to lose that power. What makes it so powerful is the fact that it's specific. And then I go and say, and that's what we should do. Take the power away from it and make everybody a nigger. And,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Make it like less taboo. And
exactly.
Then, it'll lose
its
power and efficiency.
Yeah. But that's what we could do with all racial slurs, basically.
Well, that's why I was going to bring up the bit I did want to mention to you that I've always laughed really hard at, a bit I could never do. But that's the thing. Another thing I want to talk about, I feel like if you're white, racial humor is way harder to even approach. You can do it. There's some guys who do it, and you have to, but it's like you got to wear extra gloves. Whereas if you're ethnic, persuasion or whatever, you get a little more of a wiggle room card there. Yeah. But I was you had a thing about racist sports teams names.
Yes.
That is just brilliant skit. But I don't want to just go through all your jokes, but it's just so smart, that joke.
Oh, I always liked it. I always thought it was funny that people are the way they are when it comes to racial tensions, and it's always white privilege that I like. That's the new bit that I'm doing now, where I'm talking about how white people are the ones that are the most sensitive about everything. The Redskins is a racial slur, and I know that Native people really don't like it, but I mean, until white people are upset about it, it's not going to get changed.
Yeah.
Basically.
The people in power or whatever making those decisions, There's a lot of racist team names, too. Like the Cleveland Indians is terrible.
Oh, of course.
Straight up red skin, and they're still calling him an Indian,
Yes.
which hasn't been an acceptable term for how the fuck is that even still there as a team?
Exactly.
But then your joke was to go on saying that we should turn all the the team names into racist names.
Yes,
Make
exactly.
it even,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
So I just laugh so hard when you say like Kansas City Kikes, and it's because I think the reason that joke works so well is because you're saying all these words that we're not supposed to say, but you're doing it in such a way that like it feels almost innocent because you're making a valid point, about where do you draw the line. And
it's actually funny. I did a show with Chuck Byrne, and he actually said after my set, when he went back on stage, he was emceeing, and he said that I get away with saying a lot of things because I have a nice voice,
and you're a pleasant person.
Yeah.
You're always smiling.
Yeah.
And you're just a nice guy.
It's racial slurs are like the way it is it's either a tool or a weapon. I try to use it more as a tool, whereas the racist people are using it more as a weapon.
Exactly. Yeah, you're taking the power back in a way. Yeah. But do you get scared when you approach material that's touchy stuff like that?
Only for certain things.
Because there's rape, there's abortion, there's race, there's gender stuff. There's so many that are kind of like, you got to be careful,
The gender thing, I seem to have the most people pull back on me whenever I do that, because I'm looking at it from the point of view is like, if you were to do this in any other country other than like Canada or the US, maybe parts of Europe, nobody would understand it. If you have a penis, you're a boy. If you commit and you have the penis removed, then you're transsexual. Until you do something about it,
you think you're just a cross-dresser
it's not
at that point?
convoluted. Why are you making it convoluted?
Yeah. Well, and there's also the people who have pronouns of like they.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you plural? Like, please, how are you going to justify this?
Yeah.
I don't understand how that can make any sense. But, but I also try not to be like a dick. I don't want to offend.
of course.
I hate offending people.
Of course. But if somebody says, I prefer you call me this, then I will, for sure.
Within reason. If someone says, I prefer you call me Captain Fantastic or something, I might be like, no, like we have to draw the line somewhere. But yeah. So I don't know, like, because for me, I don't really like to approach a lot of stuff like that with my material. Not that I perform nearly as much as you, but maybe it's because I'm white, so some of it, the race stuff, and I'm straight, so the gender stuff. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just a big baby. I'm too afraid for the backlash, I guess.
I get looked at a lot, and then there's been shows where my newer stuff gets people get upset with me, and I understand it's not for everybody, but it's what I want to talk about, and it's the stuff that makes me proud of what I'm writing.
Well, and it's meant in jest. That's what a fucking comedy club is. That a lot of people don't seem to realize when they come there.
And that's exactly it. Like, I've made the mistake of doing some of those jokes like in small towns and where it's their turf. Like, you come to Yuck Yucks, you come to Absolute Comedy, that's my stage, that's my turf.
Yeah.
I can, if you get upset with something I say, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
But if I go to your town and I say something offensive, I'll apologize.
Well, not only that, but if you go to their town, half the time they expect you to like cater all your material and, like we were saying earlier, talk about stuff like if you're in Cornwall, you got to make Cornwall jokes or whatever,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I find that seems like, not that I've really had to deal with that in a big way, but I find that kind of seems...
I don't usually try to write anything specific for a town. Like, I go to Cornwall probably, every 2 times every 2 months sort of thing. Like, I'm a pretty regular.
It's not that far. It's like 45 minutes or something,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And they get a bad rap. That's like known as being Ottawa's like crazy little town or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I always hear, just jokes about whatever it may be, but it's always not
simple
flattering.
things. No, it is.
like
and
if
they're the
Vanier was
nicest
the
people in
city.
the world, man. I have a lot of fun with them. But I don't write anything specific about Cornwall.
Yeah. But a lot of people I've seen do that where they go to a place and they kind of adapt their material to the audience. And I guess it depends. Some people want to stay tried, tested, and true to their stuff, and other people are just more malleable with their material.
Yeah.
And not to say that's a strength or a disadvantage. It depends on the person, really,
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that you did a Comedy Now special, which is something that I thought I had read online, but I wasn't sure because I went on IMDb and I was trying to find like which season you were in or whatever.
I can't remember the season.
There's
but
like 15 up there at least, so maybe I just missed it. But I think a lot of people, hopefully a lot of people that watch this show are local comics and stuff because I would have, guys like you on. And I think a lot of them, including myself, would appreciate like, what is that experience like when you're filming a special? I know it's kind of maybe on the way out, the CTV specials and stuff, but...
Well, I'm hoping that they start another one. I mean, a long time ago, they used to do comics on CBC. It was a half hour, and you do stand-up, and there'd be sketches, and then do more stand-up. And then that ended, and then a couple of years later, Comedy Now started, and that was straight stand-up, and that was great. I mean, it was...
A lot of people got their start on there, too.
Well, yeah,
Russell
exactly. They got
Peters
their name across the country, and Well, Russell Peters.
He's probably the most well-known person to come out of there.
His career blew up because of it for sure.
But when I was looking through the IMDb listing, all I saw was names that I recognized from Canadian content, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I wish I could find a place to stream these, honestly, because there's probably a lot of great episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some classics for sure. And there's some guys that, you know, they got their name from it for sure.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think of some of the ones I saw. I saw a couple guys from Mr. D. I know Jerry D was on there, and Mark Little, and just so many. You go through and it's very impressive. But what was that like? Like, what's it like filming a special?
Oh man, you're treated like a king. Like you go in for wardrobe, they check you out, they put makeup on you, like things I've never had done before a show. Yeah. They had a nice spread of food before and they give you presents, and you get your own dressing room. It's nothing that I've ever experienced, you know. And I think a lot of the festivals are like this as well, but I don't go to a lot of festivals. I don't know.
Having your own dressing room, that's pretty baller.
Yeah.
Like, I've had makeup done a couple times. I've done some bit acting here and there, but you know, it was always a collaborative thing. This is like the focus is on you. It's
exactly.
That's insane, man.
But they record typically 2 1-hour specials and then they clear out the hall, and then they do it again. The night I did it, because I was the last to be recorded, which is Millen Curry Sharples. He's the producer at the time. He specifically wanted me to be the last one of the season.
Nice.
That's
probably a good sign.
It is.
Yeah.
It was. But the problem was, so Mike Beattie actually did the first special, and they had to reshoot Terry McGurn doing his impression, basically a stand-up set as George W. Bush.
Oh, okay.
So they had to re-record it because there were audio problems the night he recorded it. So basically I had to follow an hour of Mike Beattie and then an hour and a half because they had to reshoot parts of Terry McGurn's again.
Oh, geez.
So by the time I went on stage, it was about 3 hours these guys were stuck in that room.
What, just watching
stand-up?
And
they didn't get any water. They didn't eat. They're just... like held hostage.
Do you think it had an effect on like your laugh track or whatever you want to call it? Not laugh track, but you know what I mean, the audience reaction. Or
Millen told me they didn't have to adjust the laugh track at all.
Oh, they do that for some people?
I got genuine laughs. I said to myself before I went on stage, I just want to connect with the audience, and that was the first time I felt like I could do whatever I wanted, and it was such a great set.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
I want to see that. Is it on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, and the laugh that you hear is the actual audience.
I was going to ask you, is that something they actually do, or they pepper in? I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
And do they let you do more than one recording of your thing so they can edit 2 together?
I wish.
A lot of comics do that. It's really smart.
Well, Bill Burr did with his last special, I know for sure, because he talked about continuity in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Bo Burnham has a hilarious joke in one of his specials too, where he says, he's like, you know what I hate about editors? And then it just cuts to something else. Oh, man. Well, that's got to be a trip. Yeah, just having your own show. And like an hour's material, though, that's a lot. That thought intimidates me. Yeah. But I guess you got to do years and years of it before you feel comfortable doing that.
I mean, some people can write an hour in a year. Some people do it like in 2
How much
years.
of that is riffing, do you think, though? Sometimes when I see someone that does an hour, I'm like, okay, but they're just one of those people that's good at having loosely strung material, but also improving a lot and having the gaps filled with their kind of, on the spot ad-libbing shit, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
or interaction with the audience or whatever it may be.
Well, there's been a couple of shows when I only had about half an hour and I was expected to do 45. And it was filled by talking to the audience for sure.
You don't get a feeling of dread when they tell you like, hey, you got an extra 15 minutes. You're like, I don't got an extra 15. Like that's a nightmare scenario for me.
Yeah, I was working with a guy named Scott Harris, and he was the headliner. And I said, if I can't cover the time, can you cover a little bit more? And he says, well, how much time you got? And I said, I got about 35. And he says, and you got to do 40, 45. And I said, yeah. I said, you're going to do it, man, because it was in Saskatoon, and the crowd is just really, really friendly. They're really, really awesome. And I actually went overtime because there were so many birthdays and we were having so much fun talking.
Nice. Wow, that must have been a confidence builder then.
It really was. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, because, I mean, I feel like maybe I'm getting better because I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to notice that I'll have like a spot somewhere and I'm like, this isn't enough time. And so it's kind of the opposite of what I used to have, where I was like, oh, I don't know if I have 8 minutes. Now I'm like, oh man, I only got 7 minutes or something.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's got to be a positive sign and I'm going in the right direction. Shit, man. So you were talking about recording issues, which leads me to one other thing I wanted to talk about, which I knew you did an album recording at Yuck Yucks.
Yeah.
Not this past summer, but the summer before, I believe. 2018?
Well, 2018 and 2019, we recorded it twice.
This is the issue. Yeah, there was something. So I just wanted to hear the story.
We lost the first recording. That's my fault completely. I smoked a lot of weed back in the day.
I figured there was a good story behind
yeah.
this.
And now we got the second recording, and I've listened to it so much that it's not funny.
You need like a fresh set of ears to listen and give you
something.
Hey man, I'll check it out anytime if you want.
I can't do the final edit because I'm just sitting there. I fucking hate this. I hate my voice. I hate these jokes. So I can't, it's just sitting there in hiatus right now.
Dude, if you, I would check it out if you'd let me.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't have editing software. I'm not that great.
Oh, no. If I could cut it in the tracks and just get the fucking thing out.
It's just audio?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man, I would love to hear that. Fucking hey. I would be honored to check that out before anybody else. Shit, man. Well, I went over most of the stuff I wanted to talk to you about. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to bring up, but I have one final question I always ask everybody. But otherwise, if you want to plug anything or if you just had anything you wanted to chat about.
I just, the Ottawa scene's grown. It's nice to see it the way it is. I think there's a lot of potential stars coming out of this city in the next couple of years. And it's good to see.
Honestly, the part of the reason that I love doing this show, not to hitch on to people's fame, but I'm really confident that I've picked a lot of great people to be guests on this show, and that looking back in 10 years, people are going to be like, oh, fuck. So-and-so was on that show. So, man, we've got some episodes that haven't even come out. They will have come out by the time this episode airs, but we just did Steve Love, and Christina Mielberger was just here.
Oh, Christina's going to be something, man.
Oh, she was hilarious. She's always great.
She's brilliant.
Go check out that episode, because it's already live. It came out a couple weeks ago at this point, if you're seeing this.
Except she doesn't want to do it.
She doesn't want to do what?
She doesn't want to be
Oh, yeah, that's one thing we learned about Christina, is that she likes keeping it like a hobby, and she has no, big aspirations to, which is sad almost, because she's so good.
Yeah.
But hey, man, I got a deep respect for that, too.
Me too.
Kind of how I roll, too. I do comedy, but like you were talking about, I like to keep it fun, where I'm doing it because I want to make people laugh and not for some ulterior motive.
Well, see, that's actually something for me, too. I wanted to be a star out of this, but now I'm just happy writing.
Touching people along the way. Yeah.
And just, I'll just, and now that I've recorded an album, hopefully I get that out soon. I think I have enough material or very close to enough material for a new album.
Nice.
So that's all I want to do, just albums. And if people dig me and they're willing to put me up in a theater, then I'll go out and do it. I got a lot of people that called me up and say, can you do a show in Cornwall? I'm there,
Yeah.
I'm doing it on my own terms, and I'm having fun with it.
No, I see your dates. You're always out there.
Yeah.
And you're not just Ottawa. You get around. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm at Yuck Yucks Ottawa more than the staff. I mean, I'm addicted to this.
The staff, many of which who have been on this show. Yeah, I was going to say, something that we've loosely been talking about is trying to do some sort of a wrap party for this, for the first season of this show, which will be late August, early September, and maybe doing it as a show at Yuck Yucks where many of the guests that were on the first season perform, and we just make a party out of it. So I'm going to try and get that going. But
yeah, there's always, every now and then there's a Sunday in the month that Howie doesn't have anything booked. You could do it.
Perfect. That's what I needed to know. Nice. I'm getting the intel now. All right. Well, Howie, you heard it here. Let's set it up. All right, so the question we always ask people at the end here is, if you were to be endowed with one superhuman ability right now, what would it be and why? Not a character like Spider-Man or some shit, but just a power, and flying is not allowed because we ruled that out a long time ago.
I think I'd love to be invisible.
Oh, man. That's 6 times we've gotten invisible.
I'd like to go sit in on Bilderberg meetings. I'd like to sit in the White House and find out what's really going on.
Yeah, man, get the real scoop.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody's shitting on Trump, but if you can't understand that he's just a really stupid distraction from what the evil people behind him, I
was going to say, are you a big conspiracy guy?
I am.
Where do you draw the line? Because some people go off the cliff with that shit.
I don't think I go off the cliff. I think there's a lot of things.
Or they fall off the flat earth, I should say.
I don't go that far, but I definitely think that there's an evil group of people that do evil things to this planet.
Oh yeah,
and I just
Illuminati style.
Oh, exactly, absolutely. I would like to just sit and know for sure that I was right, or
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like that's one of the things I think about when one day when you pass on to the next realm. I hope you just get all the instant knowledge of all the shit you've ever wondered about and all the secrets.
Yeah.
And who shot JFK and fucking everything.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
floods into your brain.
But I think invisibility stayed with me since I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, of course, it was just to go and see naked girls in the change room. But now
I steal shit,
yeah,
steal some beer. Or
But
whatever,
now, I'd like to sit in on stuff and just go, oh, so that's how you're going to say it,
So you just want to spy.
Yeah.
You want to be a spy, basically.
Yeah.
But hey, that's cool. That's pretty much the similar reason we've always heard from everybody. I am kind of really starting to think that it's interesting now that we've had that answer so many times, invisibility.
Yeah.
Varied reasons, but all kind of the same. It's just weird. Maybe it's a comic thing. Maybe it's a stand-up comics.
I think so. I think we're just a little more aware of things, especially politically, because we have to be.
Yeah, yeah, you got to keep abreast of that stuff for sure.
And you get bored. That's what happened with me. I got bored and I just wanted to delve deeper into, and then I got into secret societies, and that's when I got into the Bilderbergs. And then,
and,
hearing other comedians talk about it.
There's a bunch of families like that, right? Like the Rockefellers and all these
exactly.
other ones.
Yeah.
I read something about J.P. Morgan being like a horrible piece of shit.
Oh, yeah, he was.
He like
apparently,
ruined
yes.
America, basically.
Yeah.
And all that shit about the Federal Reserve, which isn't actually even like federally run at all.
No, it's not.
It's like just crazy shit, man, when you start
And
looking into
that's
it.
a Rothschild thing, and he owns pretty much all the banks in the world. So that guy is probably the richest man on the planet. And you got to understand, when you get to that kind of wealth, there's a level of insanity that comes with it.
You're not living on the normal human spectrum anymore.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like your day-to-day life is just so...
Yeah, you wake up and say, I want to hunt a human. Okay.
That's a bit of a stretch, maybe, but no, I get the point you're making, the larger point. Yeah, like I've wondered that too. If you get to a certain level of success and fame and money, do you just like lose your humanity to
I
a
think
degree?
so. Yeah. Yeah, I want a condor egg and I want to hunt somebody.
Condor egg. It's so specific. Oh man. Well, shit, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, no
Thanks
problem.
for coming. Come
It's
back
fun.
anytime, and hopefully
Hey, have me back anytime and I'll be here.
Fucking hey, we always high five at the end.
Sorry, man. Bad show.
No, do it again. Elbows.
This way.
Oh shit.
There we go. All
It
right.
was still pretty weak, but it's hard. It's hard across the table. All right. See you later, everybody. Thank you.